Hello, today we will discuss about Hadoop. So what Hadoop is basically an open source software framework. So Hadoop is open source software framework. So why we require this open source software framework? Because this allows distributed processing. So this allows distributed processing of large datasets of large datasets across cluster of computers by using simple programming models. So this is basically the concept of Hadoop. Hadoop is that this is an open source software framework which allows distributed processing of large datasets across cluster of computers using simple programming models. As in big data, like we have a concept of velocity of data. That means we require to make the processing speed to be more. So in order to make this, we have a framework which is the best solution. So because in this we can divide or we can distribute large datasets across our cluster of computers because and we need to use the simple programming models. So basically the concept is that there should be distributed storage and processing. The processing as well as storage of the datasets should be distributed and processing is also distributed. So for example, I have one computer. Now this computer is to process irrespective of its processing speed. That means I have only one computer to process the data. Now another thing, we have number of computers. Now these computers require to process the data. So here I have only one computer. Here I have multiple computers. So here in this case processing will be very fast and it will consume less time, whereas this will consume more time. So basically this is the concept of Hadoop. That means Hadoop wants this thing to happen. So Hadoop will distribute the datasets across several computers. So I will name it as that this is my cluster. So distributing of the datasets across cluster of computers. Now processing will be fast here in this case and the time to process will be very less as compared to this one because it requires more time, whereas this system requires less time to process data. So what we require in this for storage, as in big data we have two important terms. First is storage and next one is processing. For storage we are using HDFS, Now HDFS is Hadoop distributed file system, whereas to process we are using map reduce. So these are the concepts there for processing as well as storing of big data. Now let's discuss about its history. So as per the history of Hadoop, let's discuss about history. In October 2003, so it started from 2003, and this work has been given by Google. So Google has published a paper which is known as GFS as a Google file system. Google file system, basically they develop a technique to store data. So Google has published a paper. In this we have GFS system, Google file system, which having a technique so that we can store data. Now next, in December 2004, they have evolved the map reduce concept. So in map reduce concept, we have data processing on large clusters. Data processing from large. That means they have generated a simple processing of large data sets. They have generated the simple processing. Now again, then Yahoo also worked on this paper which is published by the Google. They also tried to make a new things. So its development started. Apache development started in Apache Nudge project. So Hadoop development started in this project. Then it moved to Hadoop sub project in January 2006. Sub project in January 2006. Now we have dog cutting. Dog cutting is a person who was working at a Yahoo at that time when we have Hadoop sub project in January 2006. So dog cutting was working with Yahoo at that time. He used HDFS and MapReduce as a core concepts. So dog cutting basically used the two core concepts as HDFS and map reduce. Now as per the logo of the Hadoop is elephant. So why the logo of the Hadoop is elephant? Because dog cutting child is small kid, small toy, and the name of the toy is Hadoop. So dog kit toy is Hadoop. The name of the toy is Hadoop. So he decided a name as a Hadoop for it. So in this, he has given a name as Hadoop distributed file system. So this is basically for hardware. Concept is used as a hardware, and Hadoop then become an open source and under Apache software. So as HDFS is basically for hardware, so MapReduce is basically a technique to process. So this is a brief introduction of Hadoop. We will continue with Hadoop in our next classes. Thank you so much.